Hello and welcome to my interpersonal communication project. My name is Megan Brown, and I'm conducting this project for my hsco 508 class at Liberty University. Turn slide. I want you all to learn a little bit more about myself. I'm currently a student at Liberty University. I am a 25-year-old African-American female, and I currently live in the Northern Virginia area. I have also lived in Northern Virginia my whole entire life, and I recently graduated from VCU, which VCU is the Virginia Commonwealth University, and it's located in the heart of Richmond, and there I obtained my bachelor's degree in psychology. Turn slide. During the course, we have been given many definitions through our readings and assignments of enlarging the conversation. I came up with my own definition and my couple of viewpoints to express my own view of enlarging the conversation. So the first one would be able to have an open and honest communication with whoever you're speaking to. The second one is that during communication, a lot of people like to be heard and they like to be listened to. Also, respect is given on both sides during communication. Also, it's a very good thing to realize it's not good to interrupt each other when you're talking because it makes it seem like you're not listening or you're being rude or not understanding where the other person is coming from. A big one is also being very attentive during conversation and also showing others that you are listening to them because that's a key thing during communication. And then the last thing is being mindful of methods and techniques you can use while communicating with others. So also, it's very good to have those in the back of your head when you're communicating with others because it can really improve the communication and the flow of the conversation. Next slide. An overarching goal for me in my communication is to be a better listener and being more attentive during conversation. I have a really bad habit of cutting off people when they're speaking and not giving them the chance to finish their sentences. And when I look from their point of view, it looks like I'm not being a good listener and I'm not really paying attention to what they're saying. And I'm kind of being the hog of the conversation. So I'm going to try to work on being more attentive, a better listener, be more of an empathetic listener as well too, so I can show others that I care about what they're trying to convey to me. And also the biggest thing is stop interrupting conversation and really take the time and hear the other person out. Turn slide. For this course, we learned about the behavioral blend, which it consists of 4 personality types known as the 4 DIS personality types. The first one is D, and it stands for active, task-oriented. The second one is I, stands for active, people-oriented. The third one is C, stands for passive, people-oriented. And the fourth one is S, and it stands for passive, task-oriented. We took an assessment online for this course from Uniquely You, and I was considered DI for my personality type, and it's associated with "this is expected of me" attitude. I'm also determined, inspirational, a doer. I have an outgoing and optimistic personality. Next slide. Now I'm going to discuss my behavioral blend influences. My negative influences for my behavioral blend is that I'm too optimistic at times and I can make risky decisions because I don't think them all the way through. I'm also the type of person that likes to take charge and control of situations, and this is not always a good thing to be overly controlling. My positive influences for my behavioral blend is that I'm a very good leader. I'm always striving to be the best in everything that I do. And I'm a very easygoing person. I'm not high-strung or on edge. And I'm very open and honest. Next slide. Next, we're going to discuss barriers in my interpersonal context. So the first one is giving my opinions during conversations. And I especially do this with my friends a lot, give my opinions, and sometimes it can make them upset, cause tension within our conversation and between our friendship. And that's one thing I'm trying to definitely work on. So now when I'm having conversations with my friends, I just listen to them and I don't give my input or my opinion about their problems, because most of the time people just want you to listen to them and they don't want to hear your opinions. They just want a good listener by their side. Also, just going off of listening, the second one is being silent, taking in the information that is given to me. Because most of the time, like I discussed before, I do cut off people a lot. And so one thing I have been trying to do lately is using the clarifying technique, in which that technique you actually reciprocate what you just heard. So you repeat everything that you just heard from the person that was speaking to you. The next thing is having a different viewpoint or perspective. Again, that's kind of giving my opinion on situations instead of just being a good listener and being there for whoever I'm listening to. That's one thing I'm still trying to grasp and work on, because everybody has an opinion or a perspective or a point of view. That's something that's very difficult to control, but with practice, it can be done. Another issue that I have with my interpersonal communication would be my emotional barriers. So depending on how you feel, if you're happy, sad, mad, or angry, you can take that emotion out on others. And that's one thing I'm definitely trying to work on, because if I'm having a bad day and then I come home from work, usually I express my angry feelings towards my family and I haven't seen them all day, and that's not fair to put that emotional distress on them. Next is having difficulty understanding accents. So the line of work that I do, I work with a lot of different people that have really thick accents. And since I'm always the person trying to cut off people when they're speaking, if I hear 3 or 4 words out of the sentence that they're trying to tell me, I will just come up with my own perspective about what they're trying to convey to me. And that's one thing I need to do, is kind of take it slow, take it easy when I'm listening to others, and trying to not cut them off and really just try to break through the accent. So that's one thing I have been trying to work on when I'm at work. And then the last thing is to not shut others out because you don't agree with them or their viewpoint. I feel like, or just sometimes when people use certain words during conversation, it just kind of brings tension to the conversation, and then I kind of zone out. And that's one thing that I have been trying to work on, is not zone out just because I hear something that makes me upset. Always just follow through with the conversation and end it on a good note if you can. And those are my barriers for my interpersonal contacts. And now you can go to the next slide. Next, we're going to discuss internal and external noise pollutions that can happen during conversation. So internal noise pollutions are things that you can control within yourself. So one of those internal noise pollutions are hearing what you want to hear when others are speaking, kind of putting your own interpretation of what they're saying. Also having fatigue. If you're tired, you're not going to really grasp everything the other person is trying to convey to you. And also having your emotions take over. If you're in a bad mood, you're going to probably give back the impression that you're being rude or coming off harsh to others. And actually wanting to hear others speak and being an active listener. That's one thing that's very important. That's a choice that you make internally, to be an active listener and actually listen to what the other person is saying. And also having a positive attitude and actually showing that you care what others are saying is internal noise pollution. And then also when you are being short with others too as well, you don't really get to have a conversation and you're kind of coming off cold. So that's also something else that you can control. Next slide. Next, we're going to discuss external noise pollutions. So these are things that you can't control that are happening around you. So the first one is loud noises around you when you're in the middle of a conversation. That's something that's going to bring your attention away from the conversation, and your focus is going to be on whatever is making noise around you. So that's very hard. So with this, you're going to have to just try to really focus on what the other person is saying and block out the loud noises around you. If the person you're communicating with is speaking too slowly, quickly, has a thick accent, or stuttering, those are all things that are going to make you be more attentive to that than what they're saying. And this is something that you're just going to have to work on within yourself if you can, and try to focus on what the person is trying to convey to you. Also, people with speech impediments. That's something that will get you distracted on what the person is trying to say to you. And this is another thing that is very hard for people to gain back their focus when somebody has a speech impediment, because it's something that you're not used to. So you have to train your brain to listen and not focus on the impairment. Also, your body language is something that is considered an external noise pollution. It can actually give off a good vibe or a bad vibe to others. So it's always best to look people in the eyes when you're speaking with them and give off a very positive body language, and not have your back turned or eyes looking down, because that makes people realize that you're not listening to them. Next slide. Now I'm going to discuss the actions I'm going to take to improve my personal communication. The first thing is to become a better listener. And the way you can become a better listener is by being silent during the conversation. Don't give your opinions. And also, after the person is done speaking, you can use the clarifying technique and reciprocate what you just heard. Also, I'm going to learn how to be more empathetic, be more caring, and show others that I do care what they're saying by giving a positive feedback to them and asking questions when they are telling me something. And also, another thing I am going to start working on and improving on is knowing my role within the conversation. So knowing if I'm the listener or the speaker and sticking to that role. So I hope you all enjoyed my presentation, and thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.